My name is Raquel and I am a project manager at Centric. We conducted research around the cost of living and multiple long-term conditions. In this video, we'll be taking you on a journey through this project and all of our insights.
This project started off from some colleagues communicating with Centric about the upcoming cost of living crisis that was being talked about earlier last year. And we really felt that we needed to do something about it. We also really recognised that a lot of traditional research into cost of living situations or financial precarity often did not include community voice, and sometimes the people who were most affected, people with long-term conditions, multiple long-term conditions, people from Black minority ethnic backgrounds. And because in our work at Impact on Urban Health, our target is to support health outcomes of people from Lambeth and Southwark, we really felt that it was important to get some research done that reflected the views of the people from Lambeth and Southwark, but also was done by the people in Lambeth and Southwark.
Why do I think this research is important? Because it is. Because it has the opportunity of changing people's lives. Ultimately, it has the opportunity of changing people's lives. What we do is enable people to voice their concerns. In voicing your concerns, sometimes you are also figuring your own answer. So you're coming up with your own strategies even as you are talking about the problems. And I think we don't recognise that often enough, that in some ways that's what's happening.
During this project, we noticed that people's shopping habits has changed. Due to the increase of prices, they opted for discounter brands or shop hopping just for cheaper prices.
Those who had, during the latter part of the COVID-19, had moved to do online shopping, were now finding that actually online shopping was costing them. So this is now forcing people to go back out onto the streets and shop directly. They are having to shop in several shops. They can't go down to the big brand supermarket anymore and just pick up everything because the money doesn't stretch that far.
The things I have to eat, it costs more, but because I need it, I have to buy those things. So there's a big increase because normal things have gone up a lot. So then things that are like vegan or not gluten, they cost even more.
So they're shop hopping. They're buying half a dozen items here, moving on to the next place and buying half a dozen from that place. Sometimes they're still doing a relatively speaking big shop, but how they're doing it is much more time consuming, and actually it saps your energy to shop in that way because it takes so much more time, so much more putting down and picking up bags, working out how you're going to get them home, all of that.
I would say that I have bought stuff in bulk. So instead of going shopping weekly, maybe monthly or every 2 weeks, preferably in the evenings because you can get deals. Also, it's more quieter. More options, supermarket-wise online, just more availability for healthy options.
What I want to see, more joined up thinking, more conversations, more listening and doing. And even if it's only one thing this year, this month, okay, can I go the other way around? Can I start with this week, this month, and then this year? If it's only one thing that gets made better, improved on, significantly, that's going to make my life better, easier, as well as yours.
The effects of energy prices have caused residents to turn to alternative options just to stay warm and avoid flare-ups. Some would opt for avoiding heating their homes or start using alternative options such as heated blankets. There was also a bit of misunderstanding about how the energy cap and the associated support helps them.
Some of them has find a way to sustain themselves by heating just one room where they want to stay, going for electric blankets, putting on the heater. Some of them said they only cook once a week. One person said she uses her cooker to heat up her house.
The increase in energy prices has affected my life enormously, physically, emotionally, mentally. Physically, I have arthritis, and so being cold all the time, it exacerbates that condition, so I get more pain. Emotionally, I'm not able to function properly. I can't sleep properly at night. I'm having to wear additional clothing, which is what I wouldn't normally do, so I can't get comfortable, so I don't sleep.
Some go to shop, and maybe after picking up the things, the bills comes up high, they had to reduce whatever they want for the things that they can afford per time.
Financially, I'm on a limited income, as a lot of people are, so there's no spare money to pay double the energy prices that they're asking. The government has helped us, but it's not enough. There's so much more that the government could do. Not being able to heat my home has produced condensation and also mould growth, because my house, like everybody's house, needs to be a certain temperature. Entertaining people, you don't invite people round to a cold house, so you feel isolated.
Bringing people together and hearing their voices and making the institution know that the community comes first. People need are more important than every other thing.
Health and healthcare was a hot topic during our research. Our residents had negative experiences that affected how they interact with healthcare professionals and support that they receive. Some of them opted for private healthcare as they felt that the NHS could not provide appropriate support or medical care to help them with their quality of life. Healthcare. My perspective is a difficult one because my experiences have been quite negative with healthcare professionals.
Being type 2 diabetic, with the NHS and then the GPs, there's less support. Trying to get GP appointments is either you wake up before 7:30 to be able to book yourself an appointment slot at 8, and then you end up on the queue and then it's already booked up and then you don't have an appointment.
I really do think people with multiple long-term conditions have been left out of the radar and are often the ones who miss out on the crucial elements of the day-to-day life because they don't have what they need.
And then initially there were constant reviews, like every quarterly and all that, but then when they notice that you're a bit in remission, then they tend to ignore you. I've got a full-time job, my wife has got a full-time job. And then having to balance that work life with the family life, living in London where things are very pricey, it kind of is a bit disheartening knowing that a huge chunk of your salary is going to the public, but then you don't get any support from the public.
I would like to see more collaboration between local organisations and grassroots organisations. I would like to see the NHS and health professionals really get into the daily lives of those that they are treating, for them to really understand how they do impact those individuals who they do see on a daily basis, and for them to be more aware of the language that they use and how they approach certain situations, just to help them manage their day-to-day life, to improve their quality of health. During our research, we discovered that there was an increase in barriers to income, employment, personal finances, leading to debt and rent arrears for some. Others were able to use budgeting tools to help manage their finances.
Everyone's either struggling or preparing for a struggle. So they're either being affected as in they're changing what they're buying or some of their shopping habits or where they go, just being mindful of the actual cost of living crisis, of the increase in prices, or they're preparing for it.
My income and finances has been greatly affected with the high cost of living. And as you know, as a disabled person, you need to keep yourself warm. And that's cost a lot of money with the rise in energy bills, and also the cost of food prices, the cost of petrol for me to move around. And all these multiple factors has really impacted on my finances and income.
Even me myself, I'm not thinking about, oh, let's go on a holiday. I'm thinking, okay, maybe not a holiday this year, or maybe more like a European holiday, or maybe somewhere like a short-term weekend in Brighton. You know, just making those different changes.
The real time wages doesn't correspond with the inflation rate in the market, so the wages I'm still getting is still the same, and I mean, it's really drained my income, and so I had to start looking for other means of surviving, which I'm still presently looking for. At the moment, there's no support from my employer, so I've just been left to fight for my survival on my own, and I don't think there's any hope for my employer to support me with the cost of living.
The main thing I think from all of this is I like to see a spotlight put on more local, small, grassroots communities that are advocating for wellness, health.
If there's support to help us with energy bills, that would be really great. And also if policies to help disabled people at work, like reduce income tax, at least to boost their income so that they can be at the same level with people with non-disability. At least that would be very helpful.
Residents have felt the impact of the cost of living in their home life and housing situation, where they're in inadequate housing, not fit for their needs, reduced social activities, and even the mental effect on children. Parents have had to reach out to family and friends for financial support to manage their day-to-day lives.
In terms of supermarkets on food, it's been already very expensive. So in terms of socialize, it's 3 or 4 times more. So I think this it goes people more affected and more isolated. So this can be a huge impact because it's just the impotence, the frustration that because of this situation they cannot afford to have a minimum just socialize.
Sometimes I have to choose between whether we get food or pay some bills, so it's kind of like really hard at the moment to do anything really. Like we don't do anything like as a family, we don't go out anymore, we don't do takeaways because we can't afford it.
So I think people, they were like more concerned about the financial expenses rather their own health, because they are like struggling more like how I'm just gonna cope with that, how I'm gonna cover that financial expenses, rather than, okay, so this is gonna, how it's gonna affect me in a long term.
Sometimes like we have problems with the damp and that, so sometimes you have to keep calling up the housing to deal with it and that. So I think they could do a lot more to help certain situations and to be more sympathetic to us when we do call them up and ask for help.
Nutrition option, I think, is one of the good ideas. So as a community, we have to think something more realistically that we can reach. And I think this is, if we work together in a community and we communicate effectively, and if we're trying to find the right channels so we can reach and maybe we can take like really positive outcome and with results.
Yeah, more help in how maybe budgeting and maybe like actually taking time to listen to people.
I think with this project, I was hoping that we got some real insights from community that really reflected what they were going through, what they were experiencing, and just ensuring that their voices were heard and that they got to share their stories about how they were coping. That was often missed with this type of topic.
Yeah, it was really fun, really insightful, really heavy as well at times.
Our challenges were things like the focus groups. So during our focus groups, one of the challenges we had was that we were definitely overprescribed, which is a great opportunity that we had there, but due to the overprescription, we did have to add in another focus group. So quite a lot of them came back to tell us that they were interested in doing the focus groups, but because it was in person, they did not want to attend because it was too hard due to their multiple long-term conditions. So what we did in the end was that we created 2 online focus groups specifically to those who have more of the mobility side of things of multiple long-term conditions, and then we also did 1 in-person focus group for those who can attend in person.
My journey with Centric has been an amazing one. I've learned a lot during this project. I started with it from the onset, and it has empowered me to know that people, in spite of their health conditions, they can pull through and support themselves and their family. It has been an intriguing experience, and I've learned a lot from it.
Felt was really important on this project is that we built in reflective sessions throughout the project between funder, community researchers and people who were running the project to really discuss some of the issues that were coming up as they were coming up and reflect together.
Successes. So there was quite a few. So there was an unexpected success, which was our connection and our collaboration with Hyde, who really helped and supported us along our journey with venues. And some other successes were around our interview stage. So in the beginning, we were tasked to do 35 interviews, and as a team, we succeeded with 40 interviews at the end. So I think that was an absolute amazing success that we were able to really push the boundaries and really connect to those with multiple long-term conditions.
My journey is just, on my opinion, inspiring me a lot to learn, to engage with the community. I think this one was a perfect opportunity in my life, I will say, to connect, to be honest, to be open, to explore more about myself.
With the project, there was a few things that were expected, like we recognised that people were having to, go to different types of shops called shop hopping because they couldn't afford maybe attending the shops that they had in the past. There were some things that were unexpected, that people were taking some drastic measures. There was a few people that mentioned that they actually sent their children abroad because it was difficult to, fund with the cost of living crisis. People were making difficult choices with their health. If they had health conditions where they had to stay warm, they were choosing to actually not put on the heating in time, which is really difficult to hear, because when someone's got a long-term condition and you know that it's necessary for their health to maintain a certain level of warmth and they can't do that, it's quite difficult.
I found this a really interesting project to be involved with. I am fortunate in that I don't have any issues, I don't have any physical challenges, I don't need medications, so that puts me at an advantage. Listening to people who have a range of issues, who are dealing with this on a regular basis, really challenges you.
What we're hoping to do with this project is we're hoping to consolidate this learning and find other avenues as well to think about how else can we learn about what's happening in the community and how else can we develop the project to really expand on the project and the learning that we already have, and what added value can we bring to this project if we were to do another phase. So that's what we're looking at. We're going to be having conversations with Centric and possibly with other partners to expand the project and focus on new avenues, possibly thinking about frontline workers and how they're dealing with the effects of the cost of living, but also now that we're in the crux of the cost of living crisis at the moment, comparing that difference. Are people doing things differently, this year than they would have done last year, now that we've actually gone through a period of dealing with this cost of living situation?
Thank you to all of the organisations, residents for all of their input and support during our project. We hope you have found listening and reading to our responses useful, and we look forward to seeing you soon at future events.